Welcome back, everybody, to A Certain Point of View in our weekly Last of Us discussions. We are here. 2 episodes left to talk about, only one left to watch. We are here to review episode 8, When We Are in Need. The possibly the craziest episode we've seen so far because of the subject matter. And we're going to get to it here in just a little bit. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you can see, Brian is not here. Brian is busy with his job. He's got student-teacher conferences today. So he's a little busy bee over there on school grounds, but we're here holding down the fort for him. We're trying to get the ways that he would die. That way we can answer it before the end of the show. Hopefully he responds. But let's go ahead and see how everybody's doing today. Jill, I'll start with you. How is your Tuesday?
Fine. I was home today. It was really slow. Looked up some more wedding venues. Might go tour this one, but it might be a little too pricey. But
You should go see it anyway.
no, because then if we fall in love with it, then I'm like, fuck. Like, so I don't want to do that.
You might be able to haggle the price down, though.
Yeah, then you can make it work. You make things happen, Jill. You make things happen. Yeah.
So that was my day. I got some stuff to make some loaded potato soup. So I'm gonna make that. We'll see how that goes. There's bacon involved, so it should be good.
Love it.
Can't go wrong with that. Bacon and cheese, you really can't go wrong with those two.
I like those things.
Thank you. Good. Come over. I'll save you a bowl.
Molly, how about you? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I've never felt older though, because of having this weird hip pain that won't go away. But I'm gonna push past it, and I'm excited to talk about this episode. We're just gearing up for Mando and Bad Batch tomorrow, so we've been doing all that stuff today.
I feel, and this is way off topic, but I feel so bad for you guys because it's not just Mando, Bad Batch, it's Celebration, it's Variety dropping news articles. Like there is just everything.
Is that even news anymore? Like
I know it's not like news.
No one was
but
shocked by that news.
It's just like one thing after another in the middle of like all this television. It's crazy.
Today was pretty stressful, just like getting the panel schedule and waiting to hear if we were going to hear about the HoloNet news stage, which we still don't know about that yet. So I don't know.
Yeah. I feel bad for you guys. Yeah, so, Alex, how are you doing?
I felt great today. I mean, I did prep work for tomorrow so I can do like 8 videos and a live stream. But today, like we're getting in a good rhythm, I feel like, despite so much happening. I feel pretty good about the rhythm we're in.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Celebration is at the end of April. Is that
beginning of April?
It's at the beginning of April. Okay, so it's only like a month away.
Through 10th.
Got it. Okay, so it's about a month away.
Exactly a month away.
It's exactly a month away, actually. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Well, before we get going, I got to bring up this comment here because this is just a great way to start this conversation off. Nice to meet everyone again. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's talk about this. There's obviously a lot to break down within this episode. We get to meet a bunch of new characters that we have never seen before. And my goodness, did they leave their impact. We got a voice actor to finally make his debut in live action, which was very, very cool. And what an epic death, I must say. But let's get everyone's immediate reaction to this episode before we dive into it. Alex, I'll go right back to you. What was your reaction to episode 8?
I loved it. I was looking forward to this one. I think this is the most memorable part of the game as well.
Oh, cool.
Playing through it again. It just every time you get closer and closer to winter, you're just like, oh God, just dreading it. And I thought they nailed it. It was great to see Troy Baker playing James, and you mentioned his death. I haven't heard him say this, but people online were saying at some point he said, if they ever do an adaptation, I hope Joel kills me or something like that. But he was like thrilled that Ellie got to do it.
That's awesome. And Molly?
I loved this episode. I love really violent episodes that kind of start kind of quiet, but everything was like so tense the whole time. And then you get to the end and there's just so much blood, so much killing. I was a happy camper. I was like, yay, violence on my TV screen.
Finally.
It is funny to watch this episode, and I had a very similar reaction, but it is funny to watch this episode and think back to the last 7 and be like, there really hasn't been that much violence. Like, there's been some, but there hasn't been like that much. This one definitely like takes the cake as far as in one episode.
Like
There's
people
one
on
big
people
swing
violence
full
for
on to-
sure.
It's the most blood we've seen throughout the entire series so far.
Yeah.
Jill, how about you? What was your reaction?
If I had a nickel for every time I said "oh damn" during this episode, I would have a pocket full of nickels. It was wild, and it was. I do love the story and everything we're getting from The Last of Us. I've talked about it every time I'm on here, and how the writers of this series they all deserve an Emmy. They deserve all the awards. But I'm very much like Molly, where I was very happy we got some blood and guts thrown back
God,
into
you
this
guys
crazy world.
It's like you're cannibals or something. I don't know.
Oh, huh, well, funny thing. But I do want to bring this one comment up because this was my thoughts exactly. Give Bella Ramsey the Emmy.
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh, I have to remind myself every time I see her on screen that she is only 19 years old and she is absolutely freaking killing it.
Yeah.
Like, this was her Emmy episode. This was amazing.
Someone compared some of her stuff in this episode to, oh no, now I can't. Rorschach's stuff in Watchmen, where he's like, "I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so good."
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison. I love that.
Very interesting. Yeah, no, it's the show has done a great job, and we talked about it last week, but I love the switch of point of view. Now it's everything from her perspective, and they went all in on her perspective. And I love it. And obviously she was the star of the story because she's obviously the center point. But the last 2 episodes, they've really made sure to, like, for those people who maybe didn't believe it, she's the show. Like, Joel's great, Pedro's great, but she is the show. And this episode specifically, which I can't wait to dive into. And Alex, you mentioned it, but like the way it starts so super slow and then kind of just like amps up as it goes along. Like we had them searching in the neighborhood, and then we get to the compound, and then the very end. It's a very slow build until this very big ending. It was brilliant. Like, it was just from start to finish, it was fantastic. So
I like what Jill said about just, oh damn. Like, Molly and I knew what was going to happen in this episode, and they were really faithful to the game. And still, there were parts that I like jumped and screamed at. They still just kept me on my toes.
Well,
I love that.
I like what they did with that little village of people. Like, they were there in the game, but they kind of dove a little bit deeper into some of the relationships there, and just the tenseness that was already going on between all those people, and then you add all this drama to the mix. I liked that. It was great.
Like when the woman asks, "What is it?" and he says venison, it didn't cross my mind at first. And then I started seeing stuff. I was like, "Oh."
They drag in a deer all proud.
Yeah, like
right after that.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's like she knows she's about to eat her own husband.
Yeah,
and
it's just
like,
it's well, and I wanted to ask about because the first time we meet this group, and it's David who's the leader. The little girl, the young girl's having a conversation about her father, and she's asking, can we bury him? And that didn't cross my mind until the very end. About all that, because he says it's too frozen outside, which makes sense. The ground's which totally makes sense, but it comes back around anyway.
Makes sense. I was going to say on that note, my fiance has a really, really, really weird skill that he has where he can guess the ending to pretty much anything he watches. So like literally 30 seconds after they say, "Oh, we can't bury him because like it's too cold," he turns to me and he goes, "They're gonna eat the husband." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "They're starving. They're gonna eat the husband." And I'm like,
Sean.
God, I was like, God damn it. Like,
shut up, Sean.
Shut up, Sean. Watch the
show. I wanted to ask though, just to kind of get the conversation rolling. In the game, are the cannibal or not the cannibals? Yes, they're cannibals, but the bandit cannibals that they met at the college, were they connected to David's group in the game, or is that a storyline piece for the show?
That is true.
That is true. Okay.
That conversation that David's having with Ellie, where he slowly reveals he's like, I sent some people out to scavenge, and in this version he's like, one of them died.
Yeah.
In the game, he's talking about how this crazy man killed all of them. But he's like, yeah, this crazy man killed one of them. And get this, he was traveling with a little girl. And so like that whole conversation is straight from the game.
I was curious if that was a change or not from the game, which I thought is just a really cool tie-in to everything that happened before. And it's obviously connected because Joel's on the verge of dying and all that stuff. But yeah, let's start with the medicine exchange is kind of where this episode really starts to kick off. Ellie comes into contact with David and James, and she's hunting deer, kills one, but comes across them, and she wants to trade the deer for medicine, and that kind of spirals into a bunch of stuff. But let's just talk about, Ellie experiencing this world for the first time by herself and going out and hunting, and probably against what Joel would have originally wanted for her, but she obviously has to survive. And she did a good job up until a certain point. Carried a gun, pointed gun. Jill, what did you think about all this exchange happening before they took her?
I think the exchange where her and David are by the fire with the medicine exchange, I think that was one of my first oh dams of the episode. Because like I'm like, okay, like I get it, they're hungry, they're gonna exchange the deer for the medicine. That makes sense. Cool, whatever. Like it's Joel and Ellie, they don't need a whole deer. So I'm like, all right. And then he starts talking about how people died, and it was this guy, and there was a young girl with him, and then he goes, put the gun down, and I went, oh damn. I was like, oh no, here we go. Which I should have known, because it started as soon as the episode opened to like little congregations during the apocalypse like that, that's never going to end well. So I was like, I don't trust these guys. I don't trust them. I don't trust you. And I was right. I was correct in that assumption. But yeah, that was my first oh damn of the episode, was that exchange.
Molly, Alex, all of the beginnings of their conversations?
I liked that right off the bat. Ellie has some pretty intense trust issues, and so immediately she's like, I don't trust you guys. And then she's like, okay, we could do this trade. But I like that they showed her like taking their guns, getting all the bullets out of their guns so that they can't grab them all of a sudden. And I was like, look at you go, Ellie, you're smart. And yeah, she just kind of got dicked over after that. But I was like, she knows what to do. I'm proud of her.
I'll talk about some of the differences from the game and some of the ways that it would not have worked if they did it the same way in the game. And I really like how they handled it. But to set the stage real quick, we kind of mentioned last week that basically none of that was in the game until it became DLC. So if the show were to follow the game, we would have seen Joel get stabbed. And then the very next episode would have started with Ellie hunting. Because that's what happens is like
Joel gets the scene with the bunny.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's like rewatching it or replaying it. And Molly was watching, and like Joel gets impaled, and then you pull him off, and like you save him, and all this terrible stuff happens. And Molly was like, "Holy crap!" And then it cuts to this cute little bunny, and she's like, "That's adorable." And then it dies.
Gets by an arrow.
Oh my God. But yeah, then the camera turns around and it settles on you, and you're like, "Oh, that's Ellie." Oh wait, I'm playing as Ellie. You're like, oh shit. And you're like, is Joel alive? What's happening? So you don't even find out that Joel is alive until she's like, do you have medicine for infections? Blah, blah, blah. But you do not see Joel until she gets back to the house. But when James goes to get the medicine, instead of just having a really long chat, you get attacked by the fungus. And so you now fight alongside David. And that's how they get you to build trust with him. And he's like helping you, cheering you on. You're like where Joel would boost Ellie up to get to somewhere higher. He's doing that for you. So you're kind of like, maybe this guy isn't so bad. And it's like one of the hardest fights in the game. And you get through it and you're like, whew, glad he was there. And then it goes through that whole story. And one of the coolest things that I've seen someone else post about is if you turn on some of the like visibility help features, they'll give your allies a silhouette of like white and your enemies are in red so that you can tell who you should be shooting at and who you shouldn't be.
Got it.
So in that cutscene, David he's white through the whole thing. and then he says, James, put down the gun. You turn around, you see James, and you turn back, and he's now a red silhouette. And it's like, oh, that's so cool.
That's cool.
That's
That's cool. So I have to ask then, because we didn't get any infected in the episode, did the episode work without the infected in it?
Yeah, I think it's just fine because they're just like an obstacle in the game. I said, it's just to build trust with David. But I thought that their conversation was really great. Like a lot of what he says in the show leading up to that reveal is not in the game. They just have that talk about like she's kind of just throwing insults at him, and he's just doing a good job of rolling with the punches and being like, yeah, you got me. I'm a preacher. And they just have a good talk.
They've done a lot in this first season to make Ellie kind of question the darkness inside her and like the violence inside her, and that's doing some real good setup for season 2.
Interesting. You guys are leaving me on cliffhangers. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Molly keeps bringing up season 2. She just keeps on teasing
no idea what
teasing
everyone's talking about. So.
For season 2.
Because we know they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do what? Anyway.
Season 2.
Season 2. Okay.
Another season.
Okay. All right, real quick before we move on, I want to bring up a super chat here from Scotty Heron. Thank you, Scotty. My condolences to Brian, one teacher to another. Got to run and do a bunch of grading myself. Looking forward to listening to this stream later tonight. Thank you, Scotty. Appreciate it. Okay, so I want to just step back from Ellie for a second. I kind of want to talk about the stuff that happens with Joel, because we get a little bit of him sporadically throughout the episode, obviously a little bit more towards the end. And I have to say, Ellie clearly doesn't know how to handle needles, because my God.
Goes right into the wound.
Twice.
Fair.
And like,
I wouldn't know where to put that either.
But
yeah.
And I don't know if it was too much or whatever, but it definitely kicked his ass into high gear. But it was. I was watching it. I'm cringing. I'm like, oh my God.
He was running on pure adrenaline and penicillin. A lot of it.
Yeah. Which is made from fungus, which I didn't know about until the start of this show.
Oh.
Oh my God. So there's Joel. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not even going to go down that road. Anyway. Anyway.
That's just idea of like, I guess I'll stab you here.
But I want to talk about the interrogation scene with Joel, because this scene was incredible. And I've seen the comparisons, because that's the one that everyone goes to like on TikTok and stuff. So I've seen the comparison, and it's very, very well done. I think Pedro fully on just clicked into high gear and just let it all go. I love when he just stabs the guy and walks away, goes to the other guy. I love the scene, and I thought it was brilliantly done, and the performances. And I love how he got what he needed to from them and then just moved on. And it leads to what happens later on in the episode, because he obviously cares about Ellie a lot. But yeah, just thoughts about that scene with Joel and the interrogation.
Oh
Joel was straight up John Wick in that scene.
Yes,
that's a great.
He was like
great comparison. Yeah.
Basically, in the whole episode, he was acting like someone just killed his puppy, and he's like, "I don't have time for this. Let's go."
Yeah, accurate. So accurate.
That's great. That's
that
great.
Scene for me definitely had about 3 oh damns, and it like progressed in volume each time. Oh damn! Like I was like, oh my God, because it takes a lot for me to get really uncomfortable with like violent kind of stuff when it comes to media, but when he put the knife in the dude's knee and said, "I will rip your kneecap out,"
I turned. I went,
"Oh God, please don't!" Like I
was full on like this. There was no way I was about to see someone's knee pop off. There's no way.
It freaked me out. I was like, "Please, for the love of God, do not pop his knee! Like, don't do that." It was wild because like I texted you guys. I think I said like, what did I say? Deranged Joel, because he was just out of his mind. Like he didn't give a flying fuck about anything or anybody except finding Ellie. And
he was just seeing red, yeah.
Literally. And even Sean threw in an oh damn when he kills the guy after showing him on the map, and then the other guy's like, "Why'd you kill him? He told you the truth. How do you know like he's not like how do you know he's not lying?" He's like, "I believe him," and then straight up killed the other dude. Like
he took a pipe to his head, just full on.
Yeah.
Brutal.
It's great.
Brutal.
Loved every second of it. But
he's like, I have no reason to let them live.
No.
Well, and they were attempting to kill him anyway, so why not?
I genuinely think that I have blocked out the kneecap thing, because I've played that game like 4 times. When we got back to it in the replay, I had a visceral like, oh God, when he threatened to do it. And again, again in this episode. I'm just like, ah, it's so terrible.
Well, just
Knee
thinking
stuff.
about
Ooh.
that idea, and if you go back and like, if you do get a shot of like where the knife is, it's like on the tip of his leg,
It's
like at
right
the point
there.
where he put it exactly where he needed to.
Oh, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's
Yeah.
done it before, and it's terrifying to think about someone's kneecap popping off.
Gotta
But
open
Oh,
that
yeah,
knife
I mean,
like a
he-
sardine can.
He might have done it before. Like
Jill,
he's
no,
killed a lot.
we're not, no, I don't want that picture in my head of opening a can. That just no, like
That's what it would have been like. Pop the knee in
Putting
there and rip it out.
Pop top on a beer bottle. Just
oh my god.
Speaking of those like rubber things that you would kind of bend and put on a table and wait for him to go
Oh
like
my
and
god,
shoot 'em.
no. Uh,
God,
Um,
gross.
all right, Kyle brings up the one line that everyone seems to be talking about in the scene. He loved it when Joel yelled, "What town?" during the interrogation. I think that's the line that everyone seems to be going for, is like Pedro giving all out of like, okay, this guy cares about Ellie more than he's leading on to. Because that kind of like starts down the path of him really getting to Ellie at the end of the episode, and the realization that these two are much more than just, partners in travel per se.
Mhm.
That he, and obviously the line at the end of the whole baby girl thing, which we'll get to, but what a performance from Pedro in such small moments too. Like,
Yeah.
again, showing how good of an actor this guy is.
Yeah. We love
So
when
good.
he's a moody father figure in media.
Well, he's
It's
doing
been-
it twice a week now.
Uh-huh.
It's
I
been
like
interesting getting to. Oh, sorry, Molly. I was just gonna. It's interesting getting to see him in that episode 7 moment where like he's awake and he's not really talking, but he and Ellie are bonding. But basically, I think that in the show and in the game, the second he decides, no, I'm gonna stay with Ellie and sends Tommy home, and then like right when they start talking, it's like once he lets his guard down a little bit, it's like
Mhm.
floodgates are open. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, she's my daughter now, I guess.
Mhm.
This is mine. I take it with me.
Yeah. And part of that line, like what town, for me is also like it's kind of him finding out like, oh, there's gonna be a lot of people here that I might have to kill, and I'm fine with
Mhm.
that. Like he's just like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. He's deadly. I'm glad we're able to see, and obviously the game you're killing infected constantly, but I'm glad we're able to see how vicious he really is. Because we get those moments of him talking about his past and like what him and Tommy did and how bad they were and the things that they did. But we haven't been able to see that much. Like he's protected a couple times and he was on the sniper in that episode in Kansas City and stuff like that. But this episode was like Joel unlocked, essentially. Like just old Joel, full on, just going for it. And I love seeing it. Like it was violent. It was terrifying at times, but it was really cool to see.
I
So,
mean, yeah, we saw him like beat that guy's face in pretty early in the season, and then guess who does almost the same thing later in this episode?
She's learning.
but a
I
much more
learned it from
violent
you,
way.
Dad.
But a much more violent way. So,
Yeah.
but before we get to that, let's talk about. I mean, there's not much to cover, but I did want to ask: is the horse a more important character in the game, or is that how it happens in the game?
That's how it happens in the game. But
It's
they
hard.
did they name it in the show? I can't remember if they named it.
Yeah,
in the
they
show.
did.
I
In
know
the-
they
back in
named.
the town, the other town.
Okay,
What is the
I know-
horse's name?
Callus. I know that there's also a horse named Shimmer, but I think they left that one.
Oh, maybe they named Shimmer and not this one. Then
Or they swapped the names around because I do remember the name Shimmer being thrown around. But in the game,
It was so
the horse's
sad.
name is Callus, so there's a little bit of extra bonding with it in the game.
'Cause it has
So I was watching the episode on Sunday night, and it was probably about, I don't know, 9:00 or something, and Gabby was still awake, and she hadn't seen an episode yet. She watched it early on. I was like, not really for it, and it happened to be like the moments leading up to that scene, and so she watched the guys coming after Ellie, and then she saw the horse get shot. She's like, "Oh, okay, turning off, going to sleep."
I'm
She's like,
done.
nope, I'm done. Yep, I'm done. She
I'm
just
good.
can't handle seeing animals get hurt, and she was like, "Oh my god, that's awful," that whole thing. So, all right, let's talk about David and Ellie. Let's get to the moment where we have her in the cage, and they have that conversation about the cannibalism. And Ellie sees the ear on the floor. The moments before that, she's kind of playing tricks on him to try to get the keys. And I think this is what Jill was alluding to, the Emmy moment here. of her ability to kind of transition between a little bit of heartfelt and then just straight up violent and rude. I love when she says, "Tell them it's Ellie." That line is fantastic. So yeah, let's open the floodgates here. Alex, I'll start with you. What did you think about the whole cage scene?
It's basically straight from the game. I think they added a little bit of stuff where he was discussing that she has a violent heart, and so does he. That was not in the game, but again, they're doing a good job of building stuff up that they didn't know about when they made the first game. So I really liked that added conversation. But yeah, just David in general. Shoot, I can't remember the actor's name, but I thought that he crushed it because I knew how terrible he was. And still in like the first scene with him, I was like, I can see why someone would trust him. And then like you see, like Jill said, when you see just a preacher in the apocalypse, your gut instinct is to think this is not going to go well. But I was like, he doesn't seem that bad. And all the religious stuff was not in the game. So I thought that was a fun added bit.
Especially when he says that it was after the apocalypse that he found God, and you're like,
Scott Shepherd,
okay,
that's a little sus.
Scott Shepherd did a great job, but showing that I was like, okay, he genuinely does seem to be trying to comfort that girl. And then the very next scene that he's with her, he straight up hits her, and you're like, okay, like that's another part that made me scream. Just wasn't expecting that at all. But yeah, I liked everything about how they handled David's portrayal up through the end.
It feels even worse to think that like he believes that what he's doing is the right thing.
Those are the worst kind of villains.
He's like, I'm taking care of all these people. You know, I've got to do what I got to do, and then he brings the religion into it, and like he's just a complete monster.
The twisted religion of cordyceps, like Christianity inspired by the fungus. So twisted.
That was great writing, but wild.
He compared like what he was the cannibalism basically to like what the fungus was doing. Was that it? Or he was
just the violence in general. Cordyceps aren't evil. They're just part of nature, and they try to multiply, and they protect their own with violence if they have to.
Yeah, that was during when they were around the fire before James showed back up. I believe is when he was kind of like trying to sway Ellie into like joining them, that he can protect her.
I think that was in the cage scene.
Oh, it might have been the cage scene.
Either way,
fungus, same difference.
That the whole cage scene as he was talking to her, and like, you know, I also have a violent heart, and like taught her through this, and I was like, oh, you have the ick. You are icky. I don't like any of this. I am very uncomfortable. And then when Ellie started getting up and like went to hold his hand, I was like, no.
Oh yeah, all that stuff. Again, just they keep on saying, oh, you think you already dislike this dude, and then here's something worse, and here's something worse.
Let me just pile on this terrible sandwich while we still have him on screen.
He sees this opportunity to like recruit her and teach her from such a young age to like follow him and I guess be his child wife. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's
literally his child wife.
Ugh.
The ick.
I got
grooming at its worst.
And obviously, like, it's open for interpretation as far as his backstory. But the entire time he was talking about everything, I just got like major. Oh, this guy was a child serial killer, and he got off because of the apocalypse. Like that was the mindset I was having with him.
Well,
we'll never know.
No, he kind of confirmed that he was at least an R word. When he said, my favorite part is when they try and fight it off, when they try and fight
back. That's what I'm saying.
He kind of confirmed that he was like
at least that for sure.
Bad guy. Yeah. But yeah, no, gross. Ew. God. But this whole episode really proves again what I've said for multiple episodes, is that the people in the apocalypse are far more terrifying than the things that are the apocalypse, you know,
because the fungus, they're predictable. You know what they want to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the fungus is like a constant threat in the game and everything, and obviously they're the cause of the apocalypse. But I mean, the show is called The Last of Us and the humanity, and so I do kind of wish there were a little more fungus moments here or there. But we got the big one in episode 5, and honestly, the more memorable moments are all between humans. And I was just thinking about part 2, and I'm like, I can't really remember a big. Okay, I can remember one terrible infected moment from.
Wait till we
the second
replay
game.
it before you make any big
Well,
statements.
I've only played that game once, and looking back on it, I'm like, okay, there's one really really rough infected part, but mostly I'm just thinking about the different human characters.
Mm.
I kind of, and I don't know if it was episode 2, 3, 4. I don't know when it was, but I have taken the show as like the number one priority of the show is the relationship between the humans, the characters, and it seems to be focusing on the development of these characters and kind of who they come into contact, and then with the infected kind of being just like the underlying threat that they run into. That they're not the number one threat. Like, and I know that it's going to get compared to a lot, but The Walking Dead, the show is obviously called The Walking Dead, and the threat always seemed to be the zombies. Like they were always the number one threat. This show, I feel like it's flipped, and it just feels like it's just much more smoother and better at what it's doing because of it. Like it's not just your
that show
typical
had
zombie
cannibals too,
No, it did. You're right. It absolutely did. Yeah.
and the governor.
Some
That's
people are
scary.
just looking for an excuse to eat each other.
Just looking for one.
But look, right after the cage scene, they come in and Troy, or not Troy, but it's Troy Baker, but David and James come in and they take Ellie out and they put her on the slab, getting ready to chop her up into tiny pieces, tiny bits, as they say. And Ellie reveals that she's infected, and we go through that conversation of whether or not she actually is. Brilliant move by her because it throws a
'cause
wrench.
she bit him.
Yeah, it
So,
throws a wrench
during-
into that whole thing.
During that whole thing, I was like, okay, she's not infected in the way they think of it, but like in my mind, I went, but is she still carrying? Like, if she were to bite someone, could they realistically turn? Like, that's
I
where
have
I
that
want-
question too.
Like,
Mhm.
I want to know that because, like, you could be immune to something but still carry like the disease and pass it on to somebody else. You
It's
know
a
what I mean?
very
Have the
interesting
little-
question.
The mouse.
Yeah,
tendrils.
that's
But
what I
do
was
you
just
need
thinking
the
about.
do you need the mouth thing?
Well, I think that's how they spread in the show, but in the game, because I I remember in the game being like, oh, but I wanted to know if he was going to turn.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so that's what went through my mind. I was like, oh shit, like what if she can actually infect people? That
Well,
would've
and
been
she doesn't
cool.
know, so like just in
Yeah, she
case,
doesn't
what a
know.
smart move by her just to do
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
just to do it just in case, and then the move of throwing a wrench into making them think other things. And David and James are now off kind of base on what they're gonna do. James is like, well, if we eat her, are we gonna turn? Like this whole conversation. Still
when
gross
he
as hell.
slammed the cleaver down next to her head, that's another part where I screamed.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I guess.
Yeah, me too.
that's in the
I mean, he
game,
got
and I was
awfully
still
close.
just so scared.
And it's like, I know she's not gonna die, but like that still scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. No, I mean it was an incredible scene and moment. Ellie just being, you can see that she's picking up on things with Joel. She's very resilient on her own, but being with Joel has definitely helped her, obviously. And that moment where she takes the cleaver and chops James' head off, basically throws it right into the side of his neck, and we get the blood gushing out. That's just super excessive, which I'm sure you girls loved a lot. But
Classic.
and then we get that scene with the burning building and David calling out to her. We get a little chase stuff, and then Ellie just goes absolutely ham.
Good.
Very, very interesting ending. I was not expecting it. I obviously was expecting it to end with David dying, but I thought Joel was obviously going to come save her. But I'm really happy that didn't happen, because it shows that she is worth more and is capable of doing more than just being saved by him. So
That's exactly what they want you to think.
Yep.
Like they said that in the episode. In the game, you're also cutting back and forth between Ellie and Joel. So like you're playing as Ellie trying to escape, and then you'll cut to Joel and he's trying to fight his way through the thing. And so you're acting as Joel, like, okay, I'm back as Joel. I have to go save Ellie. And so they really play with that in the game too.
I liked in the game the part in the restaurant because you have to be real sneaky, and there's like glass on the floor that you have to avoid stepping on because then he'll come find you. But that part is even really tense in just the game where he's just kind of walking slowly, going like Ellie, and you're just like sneaking around. It's so creepy.
Pretty sure he killed me twice on story mode. It was difficult.
How dare?
But as far as like how Ellie ended up killing him, he spent that whole episode being like the worst person ever. So I was like, it's not too bad.
He deserved it. He 100% deserved it.
Yeah.
He was about to chop her into bits. Like she was about to die 30 seconds before that, you know?
Yeah.
He found out hard.
He found out. Yeah. Don't mess with Joel and Ellie.
What'd you think of that scene, Jill?
When Ellie pummeled his face in with
the whole sequence, yeah. James and David and all of it, yeah.
I was very happy that Troy Baker didn't get turned into a zombie cordyceps. I'm glad that he went out with a freaking like cleaver in the neck. That was great.
I like that Ellie killed Joel, which was
Ellie
funny.
killed Joel. Full circle moment. That was fun. I'm glad. It's fun that they had him in the episode too. But yeah, that whole scene with the fire and David and oh god, no! Like I said, the ick. There's just the ick all over it, and I hated it, and I was so uncomfortable. And like, which clearly that's what they wanted, and they definitely succeeded. But she was definitely letting out a lot of. I feel like a lot of trauma. In that moment, she experienced a lot of trauma, and she had all of this past stuff that I feel like she just kind of let it all out in that moment. Because I think someone in the chat had mentioned it. I believe that when she killed Troy, that was her first in-person kill of the season.
Yes.
The first time she killed a person this season.
I believe so. Yeah.
Correct.
From what we've seen anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong in that statement. But
she shot. Oh no, she almost killed.
Wounded Brian, that guy.
Yeah.
She did,
which wasn't
off camera kill Riley.
Okay.
But, yeah.
But this was a little bit more like I feel like a personal thing, and so that's obviously gonna like mess with you. And she just was like letting everything out, and she really only needed to hit him across the head once. You know, you take a cleaver to the forehead, you're not coming back from that. But she was like, there was a lot built up there, and I think that's going to be a big ongoing thing with her now, because it also kind of proved what David had told her, is that you have a violent heart, you know, and now she's going to have to live with this crazy guy told me this thing, and he was potentially correct about it. How am I supposed to feel about this? Like, that's just a mind F in itself, you know? So she's going to be going through a lot of ish.
I'm getting vibes that the part 2 deals with that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go any further.
I'm assuming so.
I'm curious if anybody in the chat, any crazies out there, who counted how many times she swung that cleaver. I would love to know.
Enough that she got tired and decided to keep going. She like slows down for a second and then goes in for round 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, before we move on, we do have a special guest who has joined us in the midst of his teacher conferences. Mr. Brian is here.
Hello.
Welcome
to my classroom.
Hello, Mr. A.
Yes. Oh, is it saying Mr. A?
Oh, I have to put the names on. There we go, Mr.
Yeah.
A.
That's what they called me. I was not going to miss an episode about cannibals. I mean, come on.
Do you have an obsession with cannibals we don't know about?
I mean, like zombies and cannibals and all. I mean, it goes hand in hand. Would
you have eaten a person in The Last of Us, Brian?
No, I for sure would have been the person that got eaten.
Oh no,
that's how he died.
Wait, so we got to ask. We got to ask here. Yeah. Where are the times that you would have died, Brian?
I would have been for sure like the guy that like I forgot the main guy's name. He would have been like
David.
Yeah, David. He would have been like, "Oh, hey, come check out this cool meat locker," and like, "Oh, cool!" Like,
oh, you would have been one of the people hanging in the shed.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, gross.
100%.
I forgot about that.
I would have been like oh look, it's a meat locker, dead. So that was one of them. I for sure would have been picked off easily by the people that shot Ellie's horse. I would have probably gotten in the way somehow and like, don't kill him, and then been like, what? And like gotten in the way of the bullet. So that one. And my last one was more than likely when the building was on fire, I would have forgotten where the exit was.
Molly guessed that one.
Yeah. 100%. I would have forgotten where the exit was and probably passed out from smoke.
Well, I mean, the doors were locked, so you didn't have a choice either way. But yes, okay, fair enough.
I think it would have been even sooner, and it would have been you're hunting for the deer and you shoot the shotgun and it slams back in a certain way.
I think he would have tripped on a rock.
Place.
Yeah, he would have tripped on a rock. The gun would have shot upward. And he would have shot himself in the head.
I am actually really good with the shotgun. Oh. I went to the driving range. That's for whatever reason, not the driving range.
A driving range. Shooting at golf balls as they go by.
Let's go to a driving range with Brian and a gun. That sounds right.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, no, I'm this. Yeah.
Wait, Brian, hold on.
What?
You would have gotten killed by the rabbit.
No.
At the very beginning.
Oh no, I was so I've had like 4 or 5 rabbits in my lifetime, and I was like, God dang it! Like they're gonna kill another rabbit. It's always a rabbit. Like
they're good.
Dogs
protein.
and rabbits are like my weak spot. Now it got away, and I was like, oh yay! I was very happy. Even though that means she starved. Oh. So.
All right, quickly, I want to get to a super chat here. We have 2. I want to get to the first one from Tim Sim. British Vogue did an interview with Bella about her time with the show at Paris Fashion Week, and she said that the finale will be divisive. My question is, will it be for those who played the game or those who haven't, or both? I guess
I bet you it's divisive in the sense of it's going to change something.
Well, from what I understand, this story in the finale was originally supposed to be a DLC, but it was never released.
No.
Okay. I read that online, so I wasn't sure if that was right. Okay. So is next week's story in the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot still that happens in the game that I assume is going to happen in the show. It might be divisive in that they might stop it at a different point.
I feel like, well, Bella didn't play the game before shooting this, so she is talking more as a newcomer to the story. B, I think that the end of the game is, I don't know if divisive is the right word, but like it raises a lot of interesting questions. I think we'll have a lot to talk about next week, but
yeah.
I don't think they're all of a sudden gonna pull the rug out from under us and change something huge. Like the show has been, I would say, very faithful so far. Even in episode 3, when they told a completely different story, it still felt along the same lines. I don't think they're all of a sudden gonna just do something completely different.
I mean, yeah, the show has done a really good job at showing us that even though we love these 2 characters, they're not necessarily good people.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of darkness in them.
Yeah.
Well, I think we talked early in the season
that
pan
out?
I don't know who said it or the exact verbiage, but we basically said that even though there's bad guys in the game, everyone's bad. Like
there's no good guys and bad guys.
There's no good guys and bad guys. It's kind of like tit for tat. Everyone has their kind of moments, depending on your point of view.
Who's the worst of the bad?
Depending on your certain point of view?
Depending on your certain point of view. Yeah, correct. Another super chat here from Tim Sim I want to bring up. Thank you, Tim. Also, should we be concerned that the finale is only 45 minutes long? That gives me bad Game of Thrones final season vibes.
No.
Absolutely not.
No. Because the entire last season of Game of Thrones was trash. It wasn't a great season, and then
That's true.
shit the bed on the last episode.
Well, it's also, and just let's talk about a show that's currently on, but The Mandalorian is 40-minute episodes.
Less
35 minutes for the
40.
episode, and it got so much done.
Yeah, there's so much to do in that much time frame, especially for something like The Last of Us. You know, there's, I don't think you have to be worried at all.
The the end of the game, like we're in the end game. It's really not that much story left, and it's kind of. I remember playing through it again. I was like, oh yeah, this segment is actually pretty short. So
Yeah.
I think 45 minutes is plenty of time to even add some stuff.
And they might do a little bit of a time jump even between this episode that we're talking about and the finale, because they can if they want to.
I think they will, because it's spring. Like in the game, this ends winter, and it jumps us to spring.
So I think it was 2 episodes ago we had a 3-month time jump. I could see like another month or 2 time jump after this. Not everything has to happen in one big clump. Like you can take time to have things kind of fleshed out and things happen.
Yeah,
I'm just very curious on where it goes.
Things in the game are like divided by the seasons, right?
Yeah.
So we can just jump to spring after this.
Yeah.
And totally. I will say, I think that's one thing that the game maybe did slightly better is that after Joel gets impaled in the game, he gets his injury, it cuts to black. We jump to winter from fall. And so then you're like, oh, okay, time jump. Oh, wait, I'm Ellie. Wait a minute. Is Joel alive? And then when he recovers, it makes a little more sense. Like, I feel like he got hurt and recovered over the course of a couple days. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, your injury wasn't as bad as it was in the game, but
yeah, he was still bleeding quite a lot, though. He's still got a lot of recovery to go.
Granted, he only had to kill 3 people in the show, and in the game, it's like an army.
James hit it right on the head here. I want to bring this up. I don't know why we worry about time, considering how efficient the storytelling has been all season.
Exactly.
I agree. I 100% agree. Like
that's what I said.
It's been so tight all season long.
Yeah, entire last season of Game of Thrones was garbage. This
season, I certainly wouldn't complain if it were another hour and a half long episode, like episode 1, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. If it doesn't need to be, then don't make it a long one, just for the sake of it.
Question here, and this comes from inspiration of Blake in the comments. Are there any new characters that we're going to meet outside of Ellie's mom left in the story? Like example, like a David and James we met in this episode.
Not in the second game. I don't want people to say...
there. Yeah, okay, how about that?
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay.
I'm going to say probably not, but maybe.
Okay.
Again, there's some things they could do if they wanted to set some stuff up. But
oh, yeah.
I think probably not.
I wish I had like a light bulb emoji again.
I'm just sitting here like, wait, what? Oh.
Okay. I mean, look, I'm not against it at all. Like, I think someone said it in the chat, but they did David and James and that whole story within a 50-minute episode, like, and it was perfection. So I'm not against meeting. I was just curious. I
have a question. How much more prevalent are the fireflies in the game versus the show? Like, is it about? Oh, really? Okay. I feel like they would just. I don't know. To me, I feel like they would be more like important or like
a bigger threat.
Yeah, like have had more story. But if it's not more in the game, then obviously they don't need to. But that was one thing I was thinking about. I was like, we haven't really. The fireflies are just this kind of like name almost at this point, like other than like little teeny bits in the first 2 episodes. I think it's pretty much just been namesake.
I mean, Marlene talked about how they've been fighting for however long, 20 years, and have accomplished nothing. Like, and then they get to the college and the fireflies are gone. That's kind of a thing in the game where, and I guess they did about the same amount of times in the show, but they get to the Capitol building and the fireflies are dead. And so they go over to the college and the fireflies are gone and they moved over here. So that they're like constantly trying to catch up with this group of people who's just being whittled down.
Yeah, it feels like a giant chase, essentially. Like every time they get there, they're somewhere else. Hence, they're going to Salt Lake City is what I imagine is happening next. So I mean, look, fantastic stuff. Brian, we covered a lot while you weren't here, obviously. Is there anything that you wanted to just quickly mention before we kind of start to wrap up here? Actually, no. Hold that thought, Brian. We haven't talked about the final line of the episode, or one of the final lines of the episode. The baby girl. I got you, baby girl. We have not talked about that. The first time that Joel has said that since Sarah, obviously. How did everyone feel about that moment? Jill?
That was my crying. That was my, oh, damn. that was my sad crying, oh, damn. Because, I mean, I feel like Joel is trying to right the wrong, not right the wrongs, because he really had nothing to do with how Sarah died. Like, there was really nothing he could really do to stop it. But obviously, in his mind, he feels like he could have done something. So he's kind of doing everything he can to now save Ellie in return. And like Alex said, they got to that one point where now the floodgates are open. He's all emotional. He realizes that, like, this is his child now. This is mine. And he verbally said so when he called her baby girl.
He gave her him jacket.
Yeah. I was like, precious.
It was a really sweet moment, and I definitely welled up a little bit hearing him say that. But like, I also thought in the back of my mind, I was like, does Ellie, obviously she's grateful that he's there and like she's like enjoying this moment, but I was like, does she think in the back of her mind like, oh, he just thinks that I'm his daughter again, like I'm gonna constantly be trying to live up to,
I'm the replacement.
Yeah, kind of like that. Maybe not in that moment, but that kind of might plant a seed.
I like what they talked about at the end of the episode. They were talking about how she just fell into his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And like once her realizing that it was him and he was there, and after everything that happened, she just kind of fell into his shoulders, which, you know, we could obviously go to a point where she is having that conversation with herself, what Molly just mentioned. But I'm just like to be optimistic of her being like, oh no, like he's here, you know, whatever's happened in the past is the past, what we just went through, etc. And we're just back together.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's never had a real safe zone her entire life, and like this is the moment where she's like, you are my safe zone.
Yeah.
I don't think that she worries about whether or not she's like a replacement. I think she probably views Joel as her father figure now, and is probably fine with the way that he views her, which I really like the way they did it in the show. It's slightly different from the game again, but her kind of walking out in the game, Joel's like stops her from cleaving David.
Okay.
Like in the middle of that, he just runs up to hug her and get her to safety, and she like almost attacks him. They basically said it was too dangerous to do that with all the fire going on, so they had her walk outside, but they still had him come up and her freak out. But that moment of her realizing that, oh, it's Joel, and just collapsing, I thought was great. And I loved that when he's hugging her, you see the watch clearly in the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff.
Mr. A?
Yeah, I mean, that was the heart of the episode, right? I mean, there wasn't really anything like touching, if you will, like joyful throughout. It was pretty
Dark
is a good word.
Joel got some penicillin.
Yeah.
So that when
was
Jake
exciting.
said, do I have anything to talk about, she just stabbed that wound right in the middle.
That's how you do it, right?
We talked about it.
That's
about it, yeah.
Molly, if the apocalypse happens and you need penicillin, that's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because it worked in the I don't know better.
I guess it works.
Let's hope Molly doesn't get stabbed by a bat.
Yeah. She just went right in there, like, well, it's going here, and just went. Boop,
I
right
loved her yelling like, Joel, tell me what to do with this, and like getting nothing back.
right in the middle. But yeah, no, the baby girl was cute. Obviously, you're just like, oh, and I don't see her as thinking like I'm Sarah's replacement. I just think it's very much just kind of like he's my not dad, but like my protector, my person. So yeah, I don't know. It was sweet.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on the episode? Anything we might have missed? Any final comments before we start to wrap up?
I just want to know what the rest of that town went through after.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
are they?
Yeah.
Did it all burn to the ground? Like where
I
are
think
they?
it was
Yeah.
just their meeting point, but like no one
Yeah.
came out to be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
I want Ellie to get her deer meat.
Oh
yeah, go get your
Like-
venison.
She killed that deer like a pro, and I was like, dang.
I
Oh,
bet you one
using
of them.
using all the lessons Joel taught her.
I bet you one of them came rushing to help, looked through the window, saw Ellie absolutely destroying David, and went back to the people, said, "Nah, we're good."
It's like those stormtroopers walking by Kylo Ren.
Yes.
Yes,
Nope,
yes.
Nope.
Yep, we're
nope.
not
Not gonna
stopping
touch
that.
it.
Let that happen. It it is what it is. So
Yeah. Well, the things I missed, really quick things. I love the guy that was played David wasn't a voiceover, was he?
No, the guy that
Yeah, I
Ellie
know
cleaves in
his-
the neck is Troy
Yes,
Baker, who's the
that
voice
one
of
I
Joel. Yeah.
knew, but the guy was great as creepy cult leader that eats people. Like I 100% bought that. I was like, yep, he would. And
like you know.
100%. And
Got
I mean,
Cannibal Dar.
I have my own cult, so I would know.
I
Recognize
hope
people.
I hope if you ever get to meet that actor, you tell him that.
You
like-
seem like the type.
Yeah,
Yeah, you would.
100%. You suspiciously play a cult leader very well, sir.
Like a cult leader.
When she stabbed just went full like tomahawk into his neck, that caught me off guard real quick.
It's amazing.
Her snapping his finger was awesome. Any type of like little action thing was great. I was
You really love the violence, Brian. Goodness.
well, yeah. There's been a couple slow, non-actiony episodes, so it's
Yeah,
like
we
it's
talked about
good to
that.
get. Yeah, it's good to get. A little
How about Joel almost ripping a kneecap off?
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Again, we're still.
dude.
Let's not.
Dude. So as someone that studied anatomy, that is
Yeah.
the perfect spot if you want to
Uh-huh.
torture someone, because there's like
Uh-huh.
a gap in between the kneecap and the two bones that connect. And you
Why
could
are we getting distracted?
Brian, who are you?
Sorry. My bad.
Sorry.
We did it in school.
We
We
just
we did it
unlocked
through
Brian's
school.
training.
While I'm doing this at a middle school. But yeah, no, it was interesting. I actually was kind of like shocked that he killed the guys.
I was.
Like, I mean, I get it. Like, they probably could have gone back or whatever, but like, he
He
made
was
them
also
pretty-
super high on some drugs, so
well, she'd stick it right in the middle of his.
Does penicillin
win.
do that?
I don't know. He was acting all fuzzy a little bit. Maybe not as super high.
I mean, I
but
think he was
a
just
little
hurt.
I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
how
true.
much penicillin he needed, but she just gave him all of it. And
That
I was
was
like,
everything.
That was
Oh.
the one thing that I was like, that's a risk. Like, I was like, she's just like, and she did it just like, yeah, this is enough. Okay.
She just gave him 2 doses. Like,
Yeah. Who knows? Are you only supposed to have one, or are you supposed to have two? Like, it was like, you are taking a chance.
Yeah.
I was really upset when they shot the horse. That was sad.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Back to
mhm.
the horse.
The
Yeah.
horse. Yeah, overall, this was one of my maybe one of my favorite episodes. Maybe I was gonna say favorite, but I actually really enjoyed the first episode. I'm trying to think if anything else really happened.
So Kyle Shaw did the due diligence. He went back 23 slashes. 23 slashes.
She got all her, how old is she? 14? 15?
14.
16? 14. She got all her 14 years worth of pissed off rage.
If she ever starts a band, I need her to call it 23 slashes.
Yes.
It's a great name.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
I'm trying to think. Anything else I missed, really? Not
No, you stepped in at the perfect time, Brian, right as we were talking to the ending. So.
right at the end. Is that what you're
Yeah.
gonna say? You stepped in
Yeah.
right at the end? Yeah. I was curious if you weren't even sending me the link or not.
I
but-
didn't. My computer messages weren't updating, so I looked at my phone and I saw you texted me. So
Fair. But yeah, I think everything about this episode was great. I agree with you. I was looking like, where are the townspeople? Like,
Oh, yeah.
everyone's just cool with like, yeah, David was a freaking weirdo, anyways. Like, we'll just leave.
I guess
Like,
we just didn't see Joel kill all of them.
Yeah.
right.
Because that's what happens in the game. So- Not really.
Yikes. Yikes.
And when David took the glove off and whacked that child in the face, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like,
They did not waste any time making him look like a
Yeah.
shitty person.
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Well, I think they
absolutely
did. I think they did a good job of making him seem like he might be all right. And then eventually you're like, nope, he's terrible. He's terrible. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I hate this whole thing.
I was very much like, I've seen The Walking Dead. I know how these things play out. Never trust the guy that seems to be good. And obviously, where did we get this food? Venison.
Yeah.
That was yeah. Damn animals.
All right. Well, we have one episode left of The Last of Us. We will be here
No.
next Tuesday, 5:00 Pacific, to break down the finale, talk about everything that it has in store for us, and talk about what could happen next in season 2 whenever we do get season 2. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe for that, and we'll be here next Tuesday. We'll do some quick plugs before we wrap it up. Jill, start us off. Where can everyone find you online?
Jilly Marie, 2 Y's, 2 E's, Twitter and Instagram. Catch me in about 10 minutes making loaded baked potato soup. All up in that Instagram story.
Yeah.
I was like, we're doing soup channel.
Soup channel.
Molly?
You can find me at Molly Damon on Twitter. You can find me over on Star Wars Explained, talking all the Star Wars stuff. We're doing
Why are you pointing to him? You're Mrs. Star Wars Explained.
Mrs. Star
Point
Wars,
back. I'll point
Mr.
back.
and Mrs. Star Wars Explained. Yeah, we're doing lots of stuff tomorrow. Bad Batch videos are coming. Mando videos are coming. Reactions, live stream.
Yeah, you guys are
excited.
so boring.
Tomorrow's gonna be fun.
They've gotten absolutely nothing going on.
Yeah,
this month.
nothing going on. It's a
Nothing
boring
at all.
time for them. It's a boring time. Alex, how about you?
Molly just said literally all of it. But yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about The Mandalorian tomorrow and The Bad Batch on Thursday, and we'll be streaming both nights. And Tony Thaxton from Motion City Soundtrack is our guest tomorrow. I'm excited about that.
Nice.
Really? That's
Yeah.
fucking dope. Oh, hype. That's so cool.
And Brian, quickly before you pop off.
Be of all seen on Twitter and Instagram and my book cult on Goodreads.
There's someone in his classroom. Bye, Brian.
Brian's got to pop off like a kneecap.
That was a good one. Jake, end it on that.
I gotta do my stuff. What are you doing?
Oh, okay.
Cancel my stuff?
Yeah.
At Qui-Gon Jake, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Apocalypse Movies. In an hour, we're talking all the Punisher, Star Wars stuff that came out today. So make sure you're joining us there. And then again, check out the Patreon here for POV. Lots of cool things coming this month. We appreciate you guys. Stay safe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.